Tonight, regional development in the spotlight, a focus on boosting local economies and technology changing the life of a brave 8-year-old boy.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. A lack of GPs around the Eyre Peninsula has been raised as a major issue in a regional development forum held today in Port Lincoln. The meeting aiming to develop strategies to grow regional communities by hearing from locals.
An issue felt right across the region, a lack of GPs and community support leaving many towns struggling to cope.
Health has always been a fluctuating, moving feast. Some smaller towns have always had trouble attracting that second GP. System just doesn't kind of work.
Health concerns just one of several major issues outlined in today's Regional Development Forum at Port Lincoln. A lack of reliable power, water and road infrastructure, all being outlined as major issues facing regional communities.
They're the issues right across the peninsula that's affecting all of us, and as peninsula people, we're a little tired of the city administrators saying that there's survivors out there, they're innovators, they'll cope.
Locals also venting frustration after the previous regional forum in 2014 saw little action from issues raised. Many hoping this time around key issues will be addressed and plans put in place for them to be solved.
Hopefully today, with a new group, not so much government orientated, that we may actually see some roads forward.
The advisory committee set up by South Australia's Regional Development Minister. The panel consisting of regional industry representatives, including Tumby Bay Mayor Sam Telfer.
This is one of 14 regional visits around the state, going to different areas to make sure we get a comprehensive perspective of what regional development should look like and what a strategy will be.
Community forums will wrap up by the end of July. The committee will then format a statewide regional development strategy, the first plan to include all regional communities around South Australia.
This can be a reference point for every bit of decision making, so it's not just coming from a city-centric perspective, but the regions are always taken into account.
Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
3 motorists aged in their 20s were fined with driving under the influence of drugs during a police crackdown at Port Pirie on Friday. A 27-year-old woman allegedly tested positive to methamphetamine while her young son was in the vehicle. A 21-year-old woman and 20-year-old male P-plater were also fined. Authorities will undertake forensic analysis of the tests. A Broken Hill man who allegedly tried to steal an expensive sport Guernsey from a store in Argent Street has received a hefty fine. It's alleged the 20-year-old ran from the shop front carrying a $170 jersey. However, police say a plainclothes police officer stopped him shortly after he crossed the street. The apparel was returned and the man was fined $300. Residents in Crystal Brook are reiterating their concerns around the impact of the noise from wind farms, with one proposed for the area. A report conducted by Flinders University found the noise could be heard almost 4 kilometres away.
Getting wound up from windmill noise. A report conducted into wind farms shows there is a potential for an audible and potentially annoying indoor low frequency from the giant turbine blades.
We're looking specifically into a low frequency amplitude modulation. We found that characteristic was in fact audible.
Over 8,000 10-minute data samples were collected at different residencies, located between 1 to 8 kilometres from the Waterloo wind farm near Clare. Described by locals as a thumping or rumbling, the sound can be heard 16% of the time during the day and up to 22% of the time during night.
Like a pulsing or rumbling, thumping type of noise. It could be particularly disruptive when people are trying to get to sleep.
Crystal Brook residents protesting a proposed wind farm near town say they are concerned with the new findings.
Clarifies the fact that there are going to be some health implications in relation to having the wind turbines so close to people living in the area.
Mr Nicholson says he is in support of the wind farms but believes stricter regulations are needed to be enforced to keep them further away from people's houses.
What we need to see is that the government doesn't take a carte blanche reaction to it and plop them wherever they feel like.
The Australian Wind Farm Alliance has hit back, saying no wind farm noise complaints were lodged in South Australia in 2018.
That noise was measured at a very low level of around 7 decibels. And to give some context to that, your fridge is operating probably at about 40 decibels.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Elliston residents will face a 4.6% rate rise with the District Council adopting its business plan for the next financial year. The budget focuses on several major projects, including $150,000 going towards resheeting sections of unsealed roads. $500,000 will also go towards replacing council vehicles and machinery. The business plan will take effect next Monday. A vital piece of technology is helping change the life of an 8-year-old Port Augusta boy living with a disability. The eye gaze helps people communicate their thoughts, with the story being told through a new documentary.
In many ways, Anthony McKenzie is your typical 8-year-old boy.
He is cheeky, he's fun, he's very intelligent.
And he's an 8-year-old, so he's got a little bit of an attitude at times.
But unlike many kids his age, Anthony can't speak. When he was young, he developed a genetic disorder, which after complications left him with significant physical disabilities.
His only form of communication has been able to look up and look down.
But a new technology is giving Anthony a voice. The eye gaze tracks movements in the eyes to help him select talkback responses.
Would you like to tell us anything, Anthony?
I think that's funny.
The $25,000 machine was purchased through funding from the NDIS, and those closest to Anthony say it has changed his life.
Really happy that he's able to communicate to you.
He can now ask us, what he wants, what he needs, if he's not feeling very well.
The story has been made into a documentary which has been shortlisted as a finalist for the internationally recognised Focus on Ability Film Festival. The playful 8-year-old, the star of his own show, at a special screening yesterday.
It pretty much made us almost cry.
Disability Service Cara is certain the video can not only make its mark on the film circuit,
we're encouraging people to vote for us and vote for Anthony,
but be an inspiration to others living with a disability.
To be able to show how much of difference technology like an eye gaze device makes to him.
Helping bring that same cheeky smile. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, art pieces unveiled after 20 years of storage in Port Pirie, and calls for instruments to be donated to support abandoned children in Africa. Welcome back. Port Pirie Council has opened an exhibition showcasing an impressive art collection accumulated over the past 20 years. It features works donated by local, national and international artists.
Reintroducing art to the public. Port Pirie holding an exhibition of council acquisitions collected piece by piece for the past 2 decades.
It's made up of artwork that we've collected over 20 plus years from the Port Pirie Art Prize.
Dusting off the cobwebs. This art, which has been in storage, now returned for public viewing. An extensive collection, including paintings and photos from some of the region's most iconic locations.
In the past, when you won the Port Pirie Art Prize, you left your painting with us. So we've got them all in storage.
And now the gallery is hoping to return some of the town's most prized works back into the community. An idea to lease art to local businesses to put on show.
It's a collection for the people of Pirie, so I want the people of Pirie to enjoy it as well as it being in the galleries.
Local enthusiasts will also be treated to a curator's talk on the 11th of July. A speech focusing on the collection's centrepiece, 2 landscapes of the Flinders Ranges painted by famous artist Hans Hyson.
Really encourage people to come along to the show because there's 2 very special paintings that I'd really like to talk about.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Lincoln City Band is teaming up with the local church to donate several instruments to a charity on the other side of the world. The donations will help to mentor and educate abandoned children through the power of music.
on a mission to help those in need. Tony Makesa rallying the town for donations of instruments for a charity in Uganda.
This is their income, but it also gets them off the streets, So they'll do street parades, they'll do weddings, they'll do school graduations.
The program is run by the Saved by Music Foundation, a charity using instruments to provide opportunities for children less privileged. The group taking in and looking after 40 abandoned orphans, using music to help raise funds and pay the bills.
And the more instruments they can get, the more people they can bring into the compound
Tony first came across the charity during a mission trip to Uganda 4 years ago. Now with another trip planned later this year, he's hoping he can collect as many instruments as possible to donate to the charity.
Tony approached the band a couple of months ago and the story just tugged at my heartstrings. I thought, how can we not help these kids? We have so much, we have surplus instruments.
The Port Lincoln City Band donating a tuba and 2 cornets. Instruments, Tony says, is already getting the children excited.
I know there is 2 guys vying for this one already. We've sent pictures of it and two of the boys have said, I want that one, I want that one.
Organisers are still looking for donations, encouraging anyone and everyone to get involved.
If anyone's got Grandpa's old trumpet or something in their cupboard, they'd just love to have it over there.
Tony takes off early December. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Broken Hill Squash Club played host to a team of visiting players from Mildura over the weekend. While there wasn't any sheep stations on the line, both squads played some hard-fought matches.
In full swing.
It went really well. It was a good roll-up from the Broken Hill people. And a good turnout from the Mildura.
While many of us enjoyed a sleep-in on Saturday morning, for these Mildura and Broken Hill squash players it was a perfect time for a hit. The Victorian-based team making the trek to the Silver City to take on our local talent.
To come up here, enjoy a couple of nights in Broken Hill, get around, do a bit of sightseeing and play some games of squash. It's been great.
The exhibition trip comes as both local squash comps face a drop in numbers. In Broken Hill, no games were played for 14 months during the YMCA's redevelopment, causing many players to shelve their rackets. Kevin says there are many benefits to playing squash. First and foremost, it's a good workout. He hopes both towns can grow their player base for future trips.
I think the big thing about squash, it caters for all levels, all standards can play, all ages. It's an indoor sport, so you can play it all year round.
Nigel says a Broken Hill team crossing the border to play in Mildura is on the cards.
We'll float the idea amongst our other members, and so far the people that have played today would be keen, and some of the other ones that haven't come down today, I'm sure we'll play.
Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break, the rest of the day's sport news, and we'll have Brit with this week's weather. To the weekend's local footy now, and the West Robins have shown their strength with a commanding win over Central in Broken Hill. The Red and Black got off to a good start. Here's Patrick Reinke with the week's footy wrap.
West have emerged as a red-hot favourite for this year's premiership after smashing the Magpies by 146 points. Kicking against the breeze in the first quarter, that didn't stop the Robins from getting out of the blocks fast. West hit hard on the scoreboard. Matt Nelson thought to hit hard on Central players. The Magpies jagged a goal through Luke Barnes, but it did little to change the tide. In the second, the Robins put the foot down, slotting another 7 to have the game sewn up by half-time. Cohen Turner bagged 5 throughout the game. He was part of a 15-man goal-scoring barrage, which Central had no answer for. The usual suspects for Central, Hamish McLean, Justin Heath and James Moran all played well, but their efforts were not enough to stop an in-form Robins side, the league leader cruising to a 24-goal victory. The other game was a lot better to watch, South bouncing back from a loss last week to down North in a fiery affair. Whipping around the other leagues now and starting in the Spencer Gulf, Prop Risdon now faces a top-of-the-table not-to-be-missed clash against South Augusta after both sides got wins at the weekend. West powered home over Central, winning by 5 goals. In Whyalla, Central got it done against North, while Riruna Bay absolutely smoked South by 135. The third match saw West also have a win, taking down Rupina. To Port Lincoln, and Wayback has narrowly beat Marble Range in a barn burner. Margin margin just 1 point. Mallee had no problem against Boston, and Tasman also dispatched Lincoln South. Up in the northern areas, Crystal Brook suffered their first loss of the season. Southern Flinders beat Burlaroo and Orroroo snagged a win. The Great Flinders League saw Cummins Kapini victorious. United Elano made it 9 wins in a row. Conversely, Ayr United stooped to their 9th defeat in a row. And finally, in the York Peninsula, it was wins to Southern Eagles, Butte, Wallaroo and Pascaville. I'll be back tomorrow night to wrap up the other sports from around the regions.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather this week. Here's Britt.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. It's been another wintry day across the Gulf, with Whyalla and Broken Hill both dipping below 0 degrees earlier this morning. The area's minimum and maximum temperatures sat around the average for this time of year. 14 degrees was the top at Port Augusta, Port Pirie and Broken Hill today, with Whyalla, Port Lincoln and Adelaide all reaching 13. A high-pressure system centred over eastern Victoria is extending a ridge over our region and will continue to do so over the coming days. A trough of low pressure moved in over the Nullarbor Plain today, as you can see here on the satellite, but that should weaken tomorrow. Moving ahead to tomorrow now, with winds north to northeasterly on the Gulf and seas up to 1.5 metres. The sun will rise at 25 minutes past 7, with sunset at 5:18 in the evening. And we've got partly cloudy conditions expected across the region tomorrow, with some morning frost about the west coast and a slight chance of showers across the York Peninsula. Port Augusta and Woodner both warming up slightly with tops of 18 degrees. Whyalla and Broken Hill both 17. Port Lincoln, Coffin Bay, Corn, Port Pirie and Cleve all 16. Kadina and Adelaide both 15 tomorrow. Clare 13 degrees. Now let's take a look further through the week. Wednesday looking a little bit warmer with sunny conditions. Port Lincoln a top of 18, 19 and partly cloudy on Thursday with showers expected on Friday. Cleve 17 on Wednesday, Thursday fine with a top of 19, Friday cloudy and 20. Woodner 19 on Wednesday, Thursday partly cloudy and a top of 21 degrees with more cloud cover expected on Friday. Looking to Whyalla now, bright and sunny Wednesday and Thursday with a top of 21 on Thursday, 22 on Friday. Some warmer days ahead at Port Augusta as well, 20 degrees on Wednesday up to 23 on Friday. Kadina looking sunny on Wednesday, a top of 17, 19 on Thursday and Friday. Some sunny days ahead for Port Pirie, a top of 18 degrees on Wednesday, then creeping into the 20s Thursday and Friday. Clare looking a little warmer as well, sunny and 15 degrees on Wednesday, Thursday a top of 17, Friday fine and 18 degrees. And finally, Broken Hill sunny and 18 on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday both with maximums of 20 degrees. So Louise, we've got another mild day tomorrow, but things are looking to warm up by the end of the week. I can't wait.
Great, thanks Britt. And that's your local news this Monday evening. Thanks for joining us today. We'll have updates later on, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.